I have students who come in and they tell me how they're just so stressed out from work or whatever it is before they come into class, and then they leave class feeling so much better, and it's just a little stress relief from them. And that just makes me feel really good, because that makes me feel like I'm helping them to kind of step back and get away from all of that stress and just take some time for themselves and show them that they can keep going through it and not have to worry about the stress all the time. Having a balance between your energy and your being calm and being able to carry on, and so being able to have that kind of balance through your daily life is really important, because there are times during the day when you need to be energetic and you need to be happy and you need to be able to keep going through whatever it is that's happening, be it work or getting through traffic or anything. And then there are also times where you need to calm down, you need to kind of back off and slow down and just kind of be still. And if you're doing the physical part of yoga, you're doing all these poses where you have to be paying attention to what your body is doing and how it feels, and so you're taking that awareness and bringing it just to yourself, and you stop worrying about other people and other things around you. If you're going through a really stressful situation, really stressful time, just breathing helps so much. And I think if you start out doing the physical stuff and that gets you to start doing the breathing and the internalizing and really focusing on what you're doing at that moment, that helps you to carry that non-physical part of that throughout the rest of your day and the rest of your life.
You have opportunities every single day to practice yoga, whether it be practicing acceptance or practicing patience. And I think some people think that if they take the time to just be still, that they're being passive or being lazy. But I think it's very important to take that time to just allow your body to rest, for one, and then in those moments of stillness, you are able to really inquire within and just kind of get below those layers of who you really are as a person. Just when you allow yourself to be still and you take the time to just meet yourself and kind of look into that mirror that yoga likes to put in front of us. So you can really start to relate with your true identity, not necessarily the identity and the labels that society puts on us. To be comfortable with yourself and accepting of yourself, because all of the labels that we're given, they can change. Your job descriptions or your job titles may change, your relationships may change, your views may change. Your beliefs may change, but who you are at your core being, that doesn't change. It teaches you how to kind of not immediately react when you're faced with troubles or challenging things that occur in your life. So this is what I'm trying to get out. Is at the end of a class, you're not going to remember necessarily how many down dogs you did or how many chaturangas or how many forward folds or how many back bends. You're going to walk away and remember how you felt afterwards. That's what brings people back.
Yoga is so much more than what we do on the mat. What it really comes down to is that's one little tiny part of yoga. Yoga is everything that you do off the mat as well as on the mat. In reference to mental illness and practicing yoga, so the first thing we have to acknowledge is that yes, in many cases, a person who may be suffering from a mental illness, like my son, who suffers from paranoid schizophrenia, he has to take his medication, but also at the same time, he's benefited from a practice of yoga as well as incorporating meditation into his everyday life. What that does is it helps to quiet the voices. because he hears voices. So when he's doing meditation, the voices are quieted. So I also want to be clear about yoga and religion. First of all, yoga is not a religion. It is not a religion. It is a spiritual practice. And so then we have to talk, I guess, a little bit about the difference between religion and spirituality. So religion is based on a group of people who believe pretty much the same thing about something that they intuitively understand as being higher than themselves. You know, religion is like a group of people who have agreed that this is what we call God and this is how we show other people how we worship and respect that. Spirituality encompasses everything. So spirituality, you can see God in the woods, you can see God in the sky, you can see God in others, you can see, you know, God in the ocean.
The body's never really still. We get the body situated quietly, but blood's pumping, lungs are moving, all sorts of functions are going on. And when we do get that still, we're able to disconnect from the external world, from the busy. So coming into stillness, the way I would define it, is coming home to yourself. It's really bringing the mind home to the body. I first went to yoga because my right hip hurt. It was as simple as that, and I didn't know what it was, I knew the word, knew it had been around, found a class that suited my day and time schedule, and for, I guess, 4 months, wrote that class in pencil in my appointment book. So I kept practicing, and I got freedom from the pain, and started noticing and listening to what the teacher was saying, and started really finding freedom in identifying self-limiting thoughts and then starting to release them. My life went through a major upheaval. One of those jerk the rug out from under your entire life and you find yourself bloody and bruised on the floor going, oh my God, how did I get here? I'm a victim of my own decisions. And so from there, I used yoga sort of as a, as a therapy, if you will.
When you're just constantly going throughout the day and you don't take time to sit back and relax, it's kind of like you're constantly building up on every little thing that's happening, and you just get this huge buildup until you reach a point where you just can't do it anymore. And so just taking a moment to step back and really have a conversation with yourself and just be aware of what's going on, what you're dealing with, and how you're dealing with anything that you're going through is really important, just so that you don't get that buildup, you don't reach a peak and then end up going down the side. If you meditate and take time to kind of turn the volume down and kind of cut some of those strings that are tying you to whatever it is that you're still attached to, then when those pictures or reminders come up, the volume doesn't get turned up quite so loud, and you can kind of stay moving toward whatever it is you're doing at that time.
By definition, yoga is union of mind, body, and spirit. So you're making that connection, and you are left feeling good about yourself. That's what we want our students to feel at the end of their practice. We want them to roll up their mat and feel good about themselves, accept themselves, and just be comfortable with themselves. I think whether you come to your mat in physical healing or emotional healing, the physical practice helps to heal the body, whether it be low back issues or rehab from neck, shoulder injuries, but then also emotional healing, because our body is like a memory thing, so it remembers anything that we've gone through, any traumas, any hurts, any heartbreaks, pain. There's a theory that emotional things that haven't been dealt with get stuck in our connective tissue. So when we come to the mat and we put ourselves in these physical shapes, these postures, and we release years of stored tension, there's also that opportunity to release any emotional stuff that's been stuck there. So I think we tend to either kind of dwell on our past or kind of project into our future or worry about the future and not necessarily take enough time to be present, where yoga kind of teaches you to be present and to fully experience each passing moment, because that's what we have. We have each passing moment. And if we do not fully experience those moments, then we're not being present and we're missing out on all the good that's in our life.
So yoga as a healing tool, you know, a lot of people focus, particularly in the West, a lot of people focus on the physical benefits of yoga. You know, that, oh, I'm really stiff and I started practicing yoga, I became more flexible. And that's a benefit that will definitely happen. So on a mental level, it helps with anxiety, it helps with stress, it helps to make you a lot more calmer. I joke a lot of times and say, if it wasn't for yoga, I would just be randomly choking people, because we live in such a stressful environment, a stressful world. So what yoga can do is it helps us to calm down mentally. We're bringing our awareness to our breath. And we're multitasking all the time. We live, particularly in the West, in a country that tells us that if you just slow down and all you're doing is breathing, you're lazy. You should be doing something. So all that stuff is in the back of your head. So nobody, well, I don't want to say nobody, but many of us don't understand the importance of slowing down long enough just to bring your awareness and your attention back to your breath. Well, there's many things that yoga has helped me with, but in particular, going through the whole process of my son being diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So I went through the whole gamut of different emotions. You know, first I was in denial, then I was very angry, because it was like, you know, no, my son is very intelligent. He wants to be a physicist. So I was very angry. Then I went through the grieving process of recognizing that, you know, my son, this is who he is. He's someone who's most likely going to be on medication, maybe with more yoga and more meditation. The medication becomes less and less. But for the time being, he is someone who's going to have to be on his medication. And also, once you get past that grieving place, you come to this place of acceptance, which brings me to yoga. Yoga is all about acceptance. Yoga is also about being in the present moment. So instead of me focusing on what I thought my son would be, what I thought my son was going to accomplish, yoga, my practice of yoga has helped me to understand where my son is right now in this moment. One thing that I am so glad and so honored that I was able to do, and that was to help create Sun Spirit Yoga Wellness, because it truly is my refuge from a world that sometimes seems to be on fire. How can yoga help us to find what our purpose is, what our divine purpose is? You know, that's the beautiful thing about yoga, because a part of the 8-limb path that I mentioned before is meditation. And the only way that you're able to find out what is your divine purpose, why are you here, what is the purpose of life, those questions that many of us are still seeking the answers for, you're going to figure out through your practice that it's not anything on the outside of you. It's within. The only way that you find those answers is you have to quiet the mind long enough to be able to go in.
It's a wonderful way to integrate yourself back into a whole person, to slow down your thoughts, to get rid of the tension. We know that stress is cumulative, but the things that we don't realize is that yoga is relaxing, and relaxation is cumulative too. So if you've got a stressful life, doesn't it make sense to go to a yoga class? We're more considerate of other people, and we can give them the gift of being present with them. To truly be present with somebody when they need you is handing over psychological aid. we stay focused on the past and looking back, unless you're looking to learn something from it, but looking back is depression and worrying about the future is anxiety. It pretty much describes the American culture, right? Present is not worrying about what happened or what will happen. It's knowing and enjoying and being aware of what's going on right now in this moment. Yoga is not a self-improvement program. Yoga is about self-acceptance. It's to remember that the mind is big and vast, not unlike the sky. And think about that big blue sky. Fluffy clouds just kind of float on through, or it can be clear, or big, bad, dark storm clouds. But it never really stays that way. It always changes, because the sky doesn't grab hold to the white, fluffy, pretty clouds, and it doesn't grab hold to the storm clouds either.